Hello everybody, this is Kiran and today we are going to talk about the Jira portal. Here we are going to learn all different aspects of the portal, how to use it, how to create issues, how to create sprint and lot many things. So let's begin with the session today. So we saw about and we learned about a lot of terminologies which are important to learn and understand Jira in the previous sessions. Here we'll begin with learning how to create backlogs. Now, what is backlog? So any entity which we are working upon, which we are going to work in the sprint will be termed as backlog. Now, this can be any issue. Now, so we have to understand what all issue types are there in Jira, and before we learn that, let me show you the list of issue types. So here we go. These are the issue types which we can create in Jira, which ranges from epic to stories to tasks to subtasks to bugs to new features to improvements and so on. Now, the hierarchical flow or how we actually understand what to create first and then later on should be well understood here. So first we create an epic in Jira. Now, what is an epic? So we create an epic. Epic is a big story whose end is not very much predictable. Now, to complete that big story, we have to break it down into smaller stories which are called user stories. Why user stories? Because we'll be focusing on users and actors on the system here. So that's where we call them user stories. And then stories are further broken down into tasks to work upon. The tasks can also be broken down into subtasks, but it is not mandatory that we actually only work on subtasks. We can directly work on tasks also. But the hierarchical flow will be in the manner where we have a project to work upon. We'll break down the project into different epics, which will be bigger stories. And the epics will be broken down into smaller user stories. And user stories will be further broken down into tasks and subtasks. We'll take examples and then see how to create user stories and so on. But before that, we have to understand some more basics about Jira in the flow. Now, we'll open the slide, which is very essential here. So you can see on my screen here, I have a flow chart which shows that Jira's major three aspects to be learned is based on what project, a project which we are actually working upon, which is further broken down into something called component and version. We'll talk about it, just hang on. And then after project, there are issues in Jira. So list of issues we just now saw. So issues is anything which we are working upon. As usually we understand that, okay, issue means bug, but no, here in Jira, any workable entity where we are actually going to, it can be an epic, user story, or task, subtask, all of them will be termed as an issue here in Jira. Now, third is the workflow. So for each issue type which we are creating, there will be a workflow. Now we'll come back to it. So let's take up one aspect and elaborate. So let's talk about project first. So basically we have to work on a project in Jira, as we have already created a project in our Jira portal in the previous sessions. So we have to work on a project. So project has components and version. Now I hope this version is very much clear because we release different versions of a software with the progress, right? So as there are different releases of a software, we have different versions coming up, v1.0, v1.1, v1.2 and so on. So the versions to mention the version of the software we are right now working on is very important, because we should know that on which version of the software we are actually performing, or we are creating an epic story, or we are actually erasing bugs. So knowing the exact version which you are working upon or creating or testing is very, very important. So version is the version of the release number, the build number, or the version of the software you're working on. Now, one project can have multiple components. So if you can see here, components are subsections of a project. As in, a project can be broken down into different components of working. So they are used to group issue within a project into similar parts. So if you can see here, we have created components. Example, build system is one component of one project, and benchmark, C++ modules. This is just an example, and there are different number of issues in each component. Issues means any work, whatever we have created for working upon. So one component can have multiple issues which we will be handling, right? So one project can have multiple components, and we'll take up one component and we'll work on them. So it's not mandatory always to have multiple components of a project, but it's again a good practice to segregate a project into various components if needed. right? So by using components, we can generate reports, collect statistics. So we can have a good understanding and reporting mechanism using any component of a project. So we have covered the project part. And now what is workflow? Workflow means any issue type in Jira will be having a life cycle. It will be a new bug maybe, and then it will become assigned, and then to be retested, and then retesting done and closed. So there's a flow of the phases it will go through. Any, not just bug. If it is a user story, then to do, in progress, and done may be the probable workflow which the Jira admin will decide. So every issue type can have different workflows in Jira, and it can be customized, it can be organized as per the requirements. So that is workflow in Jira. Now moving forward, so this is how workflow can be. Like, let's say something is in open and in progress and closed status, or created and completed. So the nomenclatures may vary, it doesn't matter, but again the meaning is same, that it has to be in a hierarchical flow. Here is the definition of all of the issue types, as in what is a bug, what is an epic, improvements. We also need to make some improvements in the project which will actually improve the functionalities. So we can create such backlogs and maybe work upon them later on. So new features, issue templates can be created, story suggestions, support tasks, bug subtasks. So there is a lot of type of issue types which can be maintained in any project. Now there's something called issue scheme. So a issue scheme in Jira is a collection of different types of Jira issues. So we can create collections for, let's say we have created default issue scheme contains the list of these, which you can see on my screen. So we can create issue schemes of agile, scrum, in which we can have epic, story, bug, improvements, whatever we want to. So we can collate some issue types and make one issue scheme. So it can also be used as per the requirements, what issue scheme you want to follow right now, right? So that's just a collection of different types of issues. Now, issue attributes can be what all fields are there in any issue when you're actually creating an issue. We'll see this when you're actually creating issues in the Jira. That will be a better way of learning. So let's go back to our portal and learn more concepts. So here we go, here we are on the portal. You can see there's a backlog section I'm here on. So backlogs are, as I told you, it can be any group of issue types which we are going to actually add into a sprint and actually start working upon, right? So let's create user stories first. Let's say this is the user story, or we can directly create epics also. So here if I just click on this arrow, I get the list of issue types I can create here from the backlog tab. So from the backlog tab, I can only create story, task and bug. I can also add here the number of issue types I can create from here using manage issue types. Okay, so if I just click on manage issue type, so it leads me to the project setting section. I'll show you what project setting sections is, and I will walk through that portion also. But for now, I just clicked on manage issue type in the backlog. So we'll see what can be done there. So if it's a bug, what all summaries we can have and everything. So let's say I'll add issue type, and let's say I want to, I can create my own issue type here. So I don't want to create issue type, but I want to have epic also. So we have epic, bug, story, task and subtask. Okay, so what do we do if we actually want to directly create epic? We have to go to the roadmap. From there we can create an epic. So let's do that. Let's go to project, then orange HRM. So when I click on this, it will land me to the project. Then I can go to roadmap tab on the right hand side, and in the roadmap I can just here create an epic. Let's say the epic is orange HRM website. So this is my epic for now. I'll just click on enter. So it will create the epic. So once I have the epic already created, create child issue. So inside the epic, I can have user stories inside it. So you can see the default option which came here is story. I can create more options also. So let's create user stories. So I want to create registration page as the first user story, let's say. So that is there. So I've just hit on enter, and then login page. So what I'm going to do, I'll explain you the project which actually which I'm using as an example here first. So that will be a better way. So I can create multiple user stories here. But why am I creating registration and login page? I have to explain you that. Let's go back and understand the project first, what we're going to do, and then we'll come back here.